Okay, Hare Krishna everybody. Haribo. Welcome to class number 8, Vedic Psychology. Today I'm starting with the outline, as usual. We're going to do take 20 to attune, and then review of the main points from last week, and then empathy and bhakti, and then some more on empathy, and then we're going to play an empathy guessing game. So we'll try to bring it to life. Okay? You think this cat has empathy? Is the picture there? Probably not much, right? Okay. So let's take 20 to attune and focus on your feelings, all right? So I'm not sure over the week if any of you got a feelings wheel, maybe you already had one, but I put one here for you if you want to look at it. You can see it. And just try to tap into your heart and see how you feel. Just try to get any feeling that you might be having that you can identify right now. Any feeling at all. If you can't read, there's some feelings here like maybe bashful or shy, maybe lonely or bored, sleepy. Saturday night here, maybe people are sleepy, or you might be feeling peaceful, or maybe thoughtful, aware maybe, or creative, playful, excited. There's so many feelings. So just try to see what feeling you're feeling right now. Just try to get one. Okay? And then I'm going to add one more part to the exercise where you can say why you feel like that. So you could say, I feel, and then you insert the feeling word, like peaceful, because maybe it's the end of a long, hard day of work or something. You insert the reason. So that's an exercise you can do to help you attune to your heart, not only the feeling. I'm sorry for the formatting. I make these PowerPoints on this Canva, and then when I download it, it does this sometime. I didn't have time to change it. But anyway, you can insert the reason, like I feel frustrated right now because my PowerPoint, it looks like this after I worked on it in Canva. So that's my example. But anyway, this is a helpful way to attune to your heart. You could try to do it like once a day, just pick a certain time in the day when you want to check in with your feelings, attune to your feelings. And you can use the feelings wheel and say, I feel blank because blank, and try to be specific, okay? Children who haven't had a mother that attuned to them oftentimes aren't able to do this exercise very well. It's like, I don't know the feeling. Yeah, that sounds good, And then why? I don't know, because you're not used to the mother saying to you, how do you feel and why? And let me help you and tell me more about it. What's the story around that, So if you didn't have that, we're kind of having to learn how to do it for ourselves now. Okay? So let's review the main points. Cat and the mouse again. So, one of the main points from last week, right? This cat has a neck, a sign around his neck that says, "I impersonated the unicorn," and he's in jail. Looks like he's in jail for that. The mugshot. So, the effects of an unattuned mother. We talked about that a lot last week, right? So, one of them is that as a child. The child has no experience of compassionate empathy, right? That's one of the effects of a mother who's not attuned, right? You never had that experience of compassionate empathy. So then as an adult, you get fooled by people who mimic compassionate empathy, They'll say things, sweet things, or they'll do things, and you're like, oh, this is it. But it's actually not, but how would you know? That was one of the points from last week. I know I had a lot of content, so I'm kind of going over some of these main ones, and we haven't talked in a week, to just bring this point home, because this one's an important one. And then another main point from last week was that we make bad decisions because of that. So if our mother did not attune to us in this compassionate empathy kind of way, then what happens is we basically are able to get manipulated very easily, because if somebody can say that one little sweet thing, we're like, oh my God, they love me, or they see me. So you see this guy, he's giving this girl roses, but behind he has a bomb, And she's like, oh my God, he loves me. Yes, marriage, yes, or whatever. So we get like a crumble of love or a crumble of attention, And even though the person has plans to manipulate us, or maybe already is, we don't really see that sometimes. And so we might give them our time or our money or our love, and Oftentimes one way to tell, as a therapist when I'm working with clients, one way I can tell that this is happening is if the person is very excited about it and it moves very fast. The relationship moves very fast. All of a sudden it's like, and she was finishing my sentences, and I'm like, after how long? That should take a long time to get to that point in a healthy, balanced relationship. But if you aren't in a healthy relationship, what happens is you're so excited that that person finally sees you in the way that mom never did, that you just like drop all of your boundaries, drop everything. You become intimate really quickly, emotionally and physically. So that's a sign. Okay. So one of the other points was, remember that slide I did about toxic relationships? So we had listed all those, right? In toxic relationships, if you're in one, you'll feel unsupported, usually emotionally. You have like toxic communication, so that means your partner's not really able to listen to what you're saying, in an empathetic way. Or they don't take responsibility for their part, they just get very defensive. You say something, they're like, no, it's just like that, or no, I don't want to hear it, or no, it's your fault. It's really hard to have a healthy communication if the person doesn't have empathy. You also don't trust each other, and you disrespect each other. It may not be in obvious ways, but one way is just not even listening to the other person. That's disrespectful. Or you have like some sort of controlling behavior. That's usually also because you don't trust the person. In that relationship, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. It's always going to be like, don't upset that person. I don't want to. I better just not do that because she's going to get upset with me, or he's going to get upset with me. In a healthy relationship, you want to feel free and supported. And also your needs are neglected. It could be your physical needs, it could be your emotional needs. So those are some of the signs of a toxic relationship. And then I also made this point about this biological off switch for fear. Do you guys remember that? About the research that shows that we're hardwired to attach to our mother basically no matter what. She can be like beating us, she can be ignoring us, and we're still like, Mom! And right away we get to know her smell and her touch and her sound, and we just attach onto that. And so what it means is this hardwiring is that the switch, our fear response should go off if our mom's being abusive to us, but it doesn't turn off. But if another person, and just say like a random person at the store, would try to like kidnap you or something, you would be scared and you would try to run away. But if it's your mother and she tried to do the same thing, you wouldn't be. We're biologically wired like that. So just the presence of the mother, which the child learns from a very young age, how she smells and sounds and feels, right? That suppresses that circuitry in the brain, and so there's no fear coming. And so how does that relate to the next point, which is that even if she's abusing us, we're not going to do anything about it. Okay? And that actually carries on into adulthood as well. And I made that point. I didn't put it on this slide, but I made that point. I don't know if you guys remember, but that's a samskara that gets made in us, right? So then we will also take abuse from people more easily as an adult if we took it from our mother. Okay. So this is a message from Babaji this week. He connected empathy with bhakti, which I think is really interesting. He just sent me an email and he just said, I was working on Priti Sandarbha and I came across this line which I think fits with Vedic psychology. Please see below the few lines from Priti Sandarbha stressing on the importance of empathy and attunement. What more need be said? In all the Leelas of Vrindavan, without exception, the excellence of all Krishna's manifestations and Leelas can be directly intuited by the devotees who are empathetically attuned to its disclosure. So that's pretty powerful. Yeah. Huh? Okay. I'll read it again. So Babaji said he was working on Priti Sandarbha.
Can you slow down a bit?
Okay. Do you want to read it?
No, you read, but a little slower.
Okay. I was working on Priti Sandarbha, and I came across this line, which I think fits with Vedic psychology. Please see below the few lines from Priti Sandarbha, Anucheta 158, stressing on the importance of empathy and attunement. And then he said, this is the quote, what more need be said? In all of the Leelas of Vrindavan, without exception, the excellence of all of Krishna's manifestations and Leelas can be directly intuited by the devotees who are empathetically attuned to its disclosure.
That's a heavy sentence.
So it's on this slide, and you guys can like dissect it after, but it's a very powerful point he's making, I think. So now I'm going to get into some more things on empathy. So cognitive versus affective. We've been working on this for a lot of weeks, right? So I'm just going to review it kind of in another way, just another angle on it. Some of it may be review for you, but for cognitive empathy is thinking, right? It's your thinking. So that means you're able to take the other person's perspective. That means you can imagine what it's like to be in the other person's shoes, but you don't necessarily feel it, you know? You just think, oh, that must be really hard that it was raining and you got wet or something on the way, you know? And you can understand someone's feelings, but that doesn't mean you're feeling them. You're like, oh, I can understand how you'd be sad, or I can understand how you'd be angry. That makes sense to me, right? But it's not, you're not having some feeling in your heart. Okay, so that's cognitive. And then emotional empathy is the feeling one. So that's when you actually share the emotional experience with someone, right? So just say you were crying, I would be crying too. So that's, you know, compassionate is the other one, remember? Compassionate, you're not crying. So this is a point I don't know if I made very clear before, but emotional empathy is good. You want to be able to feel, but we tend to feel too much if you just have emotional. So cognitive is like you're just thinking. And then the emotional empathy is like you're just feeling, but it's too much. It's like, oh my God, like you cry more than the person. Like as a therapist, I hear a lot of really sad stories, right? So imagine my client's like, my mom died, and I'm like, oh God. You know? The client would be like, what is wrong with you? Okay, so that's like emotional empathy. You feel too much for the person, you know? So it's not, you're feeling, but you're like, oh, probably your some scars getting triggered up and superimposed onto their story. Okay, and then, but the cognitive is like you're not feeling at all, so the person doesn't really feel like you've had a connection really, even though they say, I understand, but it's like, so both of these are like not great. It's better than no empathy, right? But they're both not great, and that compassionate empathy is the best. So here, this emotional one, you feel distress in the response to someone's pain, but it's also really about your emotion, you know? And so what the other person is experiencing emotionally has an effect on your emotional state versus cognitive where it doesn't. Okay? So there's two sides to cognitive empathy. It's not just negative, because I think I painted it in maybe too much of a negative light. So the positive side is you can understand the other person's mind. You can take their perspective, and that's a very important skill. So a lot of people actually aren't very high on this. It's actually a very important skill. Most leaders and managers are very high in cognitive empathy. And then, but the negative side is if you don't have some feeling attached to it, you could hurt the person because you don't have the remorse. You could just be like, oh, I understand their mind. If I say this, I can get that, you know? If any of you have little kids around, they know how to do that. They learn at a young age how to manipulate, right? And you can see their little minds, you know, when they're not so slick at it yet. And you're like, no, I know you had the cookie because you have chocolate on your face, you know, or whatever. Okay. So cognitive empathy is also not a static phenomenon. So I wanted to address this because Tanmay had asked it, and I answered a little bit. But cognitive empathy is something that can flare up in a fit of anger, just say, for example. So that means if you're just say you're having some nice emotional empathy, you're really feeling for the other person, but then they do something to piss you off, then the cognitive empathy can flare up, and the affective or compassionate empathy is not there. They just drop everything, and then they can base what I mean by that is they can see if they're feeling hatred towards you, they can kind of read your mind and be like, oh, I'm going to get him now. I know he has this bike, you know, I'm going to pop the tires, and that would really piss him off, you know. So the cognitive empathy, in other words, like getting in their shoes, but in an angry way, so you know how to hurt them, can flare up, but that may not be their normal state. In other words, they could have really nice human relations, but when they get angry, if they have good cognitive empathy, they can know how to really, really get you good. Okay? So compassionate empathy, right? That's the one that we talk about that we're all aiming for. So that's compassionate empathy practice. You see the cat is snuggling with the mouse? So it's a stuffed animal, but it's practicing not biting it and eating it. Okay, so compassion, empathy, here's some things that it helps us to do, just some of the benefits. So repair conflicts, you know, if you're having a conflict with someone and you both were able to sit down and say, this is my side, and then the other person can actually listen to your side and all the way they saw it, you know, and then you hear the other side, and you use some of these, what are called like active listening skills, you know. It can repair any conflict if you have compassion, empathy. It takes a, you know, you have to put the ahankara down, leave it at the door, but it's possible. It also makes you come closer together and like maybe helping somebody or helping somebody heal, you know, if you feel for them and you're like, oh my God. So remember, compassion, empathy, you have the feelings for the other person, but they're grounded in yourself. Versus the affective empathy where you have the feelings, but you're like over the top, like spilling it over on them, you know. And they're like, who's the patient here, me or you, you know? Whereas compassionate, you feel it, you know, you feel it in your heart, and you also think, oh, what it must be like to be in their shoes, you know, and then you make a grounded decision to act to help them. Okay, that's compassion, empathy. It helps us work collaboratively together, right? Because then you can know, oh, this person, that's just not their nature. They're not a X, Y, or Z. If you can really get in their shoes and understand, and maybe you can't, but maybe you have good communication skills so you can talk it through. You can understand and they can understand. You can explain. I don't like to, you know, get in front of the camera. And it's like, oh, okay, I just thought that you were being lazy. No, I just don't like it. Oh, okay, it makes me nervous. Fine. Then you can understand better. You can work more collaborative. You can communicate, and then you can get in that person's shoes and feel a time when you would feel nervous doing something. Maybe it's not getting in front of the camera. Maybe it's something else for you, you know? It also helps you be more likable, in a nutshell, and more approachable, right? Because if you can feel for the other person and do things to just naturally help them, you're going to be more liked, be more approachable. This cognitive empathy you end up, you know, potentially coming off being cold or harsh, right? Because you don't feel and you're not able to understand how you're making the person feel. You're just driven by like, you can understand their mind and you can make the smart like chess move on them, but they feel sometimes hurt by you and maybe you don't even realize it, you know, because you're not in touch with your heart really. It can help solve problems, right? Because if you can listen well to each other and feel and think, you know, on both sides, you can solve any problem. And it makes you feel connected, you know, because if someone's listening to your heart, that's the most beautiful way to connect. That's what we all want. It also helps you be more productive, because a lot of times we're not productive because we're not having compassion and empathy even for ourselves. You know, even for like what I need, how I'm feeling right now, you know, this kind of self-care or nurturing your inner child. We need to do it also for ourselves. It helps you be creative, you know, because if you're having empathy for yourself, if you're in your heart, right, your emotions are what drives your creativity. And be harmonious with each other, so it's kind of similar to working collaboratively. And it also helps understand and anticipate the actions of others. You know, if you are in your heart and understanding your own heart and your own mind, you can not only understand their mind, but you can anticipate. If you understand your heart and your feelings, then you can understand, oh, that person's feeling probably like that, and they're probably going to do this. Then it becomes a little easier. You won't be as surprised about things that people do once you understand yourself as well at that level. So you guys probably have heard of Stephen Covey, that book he wrote, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I put a star by this number 5. Number 4 is good too. Think win-win, right? And number 5, seek first to understand, and then second to be understood. And that's not usually how it goes, right? Usually it's like, you don't understand me. Listen to me. I'm going to explain it. And the person's like already making their argument in their head, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the opposite. He's saying the 7 habits of highly effective people, number 5 is you have to try to understand the other person first. And then he has a quote here saying, when you show deep empathy, which is compassionate empathy toward others, their defensive energy, it goes down. And the positive energy replaces it naturally. And that's when you can get more creative in solving problems. Okay, so let's do an empathy warm-up. All right, so we're going to play empathy games. I want to start with this warm-up first, okay? So imagine if your friend were to say to you, my grandmother just died, and we were really close, okay? And then she starts to cry, okay? Just think in your head, what would your response be? You don't have to share it yet. Just think, what would your response be? This is your friend, it's not a random person. Your friend is saying to you, my grandmother just died, and we were really close. And then she starts crying. Okay, think of what your response would be. If you want, if you have your journal there or some paper or your computer, you can type your response. Or if you just want to keep it in your head, what would your response be? Everybody got an idea? Anybody need any more time? I think I see Ladali writing still a little bit. Maybe Tanvi too? You need a little more time? No? Okay. Everybody good? Okay, so now I'm going to share a couple responses and just see for yourself which response you have, which if it matches most closely to, okay? And maybe it won't. Maybe you have another really creative idea, but here's a few, okay? Number one, how would you respond? Okay, number one. So we're going to compare your response to these responses. Response one, try to cheer up. Even though your grandmother has left her body, she's always with you. And crying's not going to bring her back now, is it? That was her time to go. That was her karma. Right? How many people have a response that matches this? Or something close? If anybody does, please share if you have something close to this one. Kind of like explaining that that was her karma, it was her time. It's just her body. She's with you still. Right? I see some laughs. Anybody on Zoom has a response similar to this one? No. Nobody in the whole group? Okay. Why not? Why not? What's wrong with this response?
Who wants to admit that they're stuck in cognitive?
Who wants what?
Who would want to admit that they're stuck in cognitive?
You think this is cognitive empathy?
Yes.
What's cognitive about it? What's empathetic about it? Gord, do you want to? Let Gord, exactly, that's what I'm...
First of all, the first thing you say, if someone told you, oh, I just said,
Wait, not your answer yet. Just response to this. I'm asking you, you said this is cognitive empathy, and I'm asking you, what's cognitive? Don't tell me your answer.
It's all in the head.
It's on the head. So cognitive to you means on the head.
Yes, in the head. It's in the head, not on the head. In the head.
In the head. Does anybody else agree with this definition or disagree? Okay, Vilas, what's cognitive empathy? Daoji, listen up. What is cognitive empathy? Daoji's saying it's just all in the head. Is that cognitive empathy? Narottam's saying no. Okay, what's cognitive empathy?
As far as I remember, cognitive empathy means that I get into the shoes of the other person using inference, basically, right? I understand intellectually how this person must feel now.
Yeah.
I don't feel it myself.
You got it, Daoji?
But I understand that, oh, the person is sad now, the person is grieving, or the person is very happy.
Exactly.
And it is because of this, that, maybe even.
Exactly. So what did he say, Daoji?
No, I wasn't listening.
Okay, please tell him again. I want Daoji to get
I
it.
was busy.
Listen. Cognitive empathy
It's
is...
an inference.
It's not all in the head, though. It's something more specific.
Cognitive empathy means that I empathize with the other person. I understand how the person feels. I don't feel it, but I understand it in my,
Yes,
in
exactly.
my body.
So now look at this again. How is this person understanding how the other person feels? What part of this shows that they're understanding how the other person feels? Try to cheer up. So that means, no. Even though your grandmother has left her body, she's always with you. Crying's not going to bring her back. That was her time to go. So this is not cognitive empathy.
There's no empathy.
No empathy. So Gaura Jivana had it right. No empathy, okay? Everybody agree? Got it. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Response 2. I'm sorry. I know you are sad and that what you're going through is hard. Did anybody have a response similar to this? Okay. 1, 2. 2 people, and in the group, Tanvi 3, Dauji 4, okay, and Ladali 5. So we have about 5 people. So what kind of empathy is this? Is this empathy, first of all? Is it empathy?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So it is empathy?
First natural thing to say.
I'm sorry. Okay. So what kind of empathy? Is it cognitive? Is it affective? Or is it compassionate? What do you guys think? You were going to say something. Did you want to have the mic? No? Oh, you're just raising your hand. Okay. No problem. Okay. So what kind of empathy, Tanvi, is this? Is your hand up because you want to share, Tanvi?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it's more cognitive empathy, because the person here is saying, I'm sorry, so I'm able to get in your shoes that this is a hard time for you right now, you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And I can see basically you're sad. I can understand, like this person is saying, I know you're sad, so I can understand you're sad
Very good.
and that you're having a hard time.
Excellent.
So-
You got it. Does anybody think it's compassionate empathy or the affective/emotional empathy? Does anybody think it is? Compassionate. So tell me, why do you think it's compassionate?
I think it's compassionate because this person shares the same feelings, and so reflect them somehow. And for the person's situation, this is the way to feel relief.
Okay.
That somebody that he's not alone.
He's not alone. And so he is sharing the same feelings. And what part, show me what part of these sentences that shows you that he's sharing the same feelings. He says, I'm sorry. I know you're sad.
I
know you're sad.
I know you.
And that what you're going through is hard. So
what you are going through is hard.
Okay. And so how is it that he's sharing that with him?
So I think that these words implying some experience from the person who's saying that he knows it's hard. So he was in this situation, so he can understand and shares his feelings.
Okay. Okay. Good analysis. Who wants to either agree with that and add some more, or disagree and add something? Do you guys all agree with what? I forgot what your name is. I'm sorry. What's your name? The man who spoke? Yeah. Oh, Radha Das. Do you guys agree with Radha Das? Does anybody want to add something more to his point? Okay, Kamala?
I just think that he's more thinking than feeling.
Okay, so Kamala is saying she thinks that he's more thinking than feeling. What in these sentences makes you think that he's more thinking than feeling?
Because he said sorry in the beginning, but then he said, I know you are sad.
Yeah.
But he knows he's sad, but he doesn't feel that.
Yeah. No is thinking
no
or feeling.
Something thinking,
Yep.
not a feeling.
And then Radha Das was saying that, but what you're going through is hard. So he felt like that was more like the emotional empathy, that part, right?
Yeah.
The compassionate empathy, you said, right? Feeling, he's feeling, because he's been through it before. What do you think?
He also he said that he knows what he's going through, what she's going through. He's also knowing, he's not really feeling.
Right.
Because he could say, I also had the same experience and I felt so sad.
Yeah.
Like you are feeling now,
Okay.
for example.
Okay.
So
So that's a difference. Yep.
Yeah.
So if he said, like, I also had the same experience and I felt so sad, then that would make it compassionate empathy, do you think, or the affective? Affective. Okay, so then he's feeling and relating. Anyone else want to share anything about this? If you had a similar response or a response to this, Kamala or Radha Das, anything? Should we move to the next one? Okay, Vilas.
Short comment. So I think it's not compassionate because there is no real help that's being given.
Good. Who said that?
Just my thought.
Oh, so I thought you were reading a comment. I thought you said sorry. I thought you said I'll share a comment and you're like reading it. No, that's exactly it. That's good. Good. That's right. That's good. That's very good. So that's compassionate empathy. Compassionate empathy would be if there was help being given. In other words, you think something, you're in their shoes thinking, then you feel something, and then you act to help. So that's good. Very good. Anyone else want to share? Any? Tanvi.
Oh, sorry, I'm still unmuted. Oops. Yeah, I wanted to add also why I think it's cognitive. The second part, that what you are going through is hard. I think it comes from a very analytical point of view, and a point of like a very general. It's very kind of generalizing. You know, that what you are going through is hard. It seems as if the person has also maybe analyzed other people or knows that this is a hard thing when. You know, somebody cries.
Yes.
I feel that's also inside there, this kind of more analytical point of view.
So analytical is what?
It's and therefore that's my vote for cognitive empathy.
Good job. Good job. Good job, you guys. Good analysis. So this is cognitive empathy. Okay? So now look at this one. Response 3. I am so sad to hear about your grandmother. I know how close you were to her. My heart is breaking for you, and I can't help but to cry with you.
The picture gives it up.
Okay.
It's obviously, right?
Which one?
It's obviously.
What is it? What's the name of this one?
Emotionally.
What is this one called?
It's affective.
Good, Daoji. Why? Why?
Because just look at the picture. I'm crying along with you.
Okay. And
My heart is breaking.
Okay. And what about that? What characteristics of affective empathy?
Is that you're only feeling the other person's emotions.
Yes.
But you don't use your head to actually help them.
Exactly. Good job. That's it. You guys got it? Did anybody have a response like this when you thought of what your response would be? Nobody? Okay. Let's go to the next one. What about this? I'm so sorry to hear that you lost your grandmother. I know how close you were to her, and you must already miss her terribly. I'm here for you to lean on during this difficult time. What is it?
This is compassionate.
Use the mic. Use the mic.
This is compassionate because the person is expressing, you know, the other person's feelings and then offering help. I'll lend you you can cry on my shoulder.
Yeah, yeah. And she's not getting overwhelmed, but you can tell that she's feeling something, you know. That's what's driving her to say that I'm here for you, you lean on my shoulder, right? So that's compassionate empathy. Did you want to say something, Susan Sophie?
I agree with Daoji.
Okay. And for the same reasons or anything else?
Yep.
Same
reasons? Yes.
Okay, good.
It's the same.
Good. Does anybody else want to share about this one? Did any of you have a response similar to this? Good job, you guys. Let's see a show of hands. How many people did? Wow. Like 10 people. Good, that's excellent. Good compassionate empathy. Okay. Does anyone on Zoom want to share anything? Or should we move? Move? Okay. That was a good warm-up, you guys. So I just want to share a couple things and then we're going to play an empathy game. Okay? So some barriers to empathy. We've been talking about this every week, you know, so some of this is going to be review. But as a child, one barrier to empathy is obviously how you're raised. It's not only if your mother didn't attune to you. Actually, if your father was not there or on drugs or something, then, you know, your mom couldn't pay very much attention to you if there's not the other person helping, you know? So it's not just that she didn't have the ability to attune. Maybe she had the ability, but the dad wasn't there. Or the dad was on drugs. Maybe your mom was on drugs. Maybe your mom was depressed. So there's a lot of reasons why. And then how you were treated as a child when you expressed your emotions. So one is with the problem with the mom, you know? And the other one is, even if mom was there, when you expressed emotions, you know, like what if some teacher, or it was your father, it might not only be the mother, something could have happened where when you're expressing, and the adult caregiver was not attuning to you. Like just say your mom was really attuning well, but your father was super angry. And he would get mad every time you would cry, maybe. You know? So there's lots of, it's a complicated story. You know, it's not always just, oh, my mom didn't attune. And then the messages that you received as a child about the value of emotions, right? So some of us have learned like, boys don't cry. Things like that, right? There's cultural messages, there's family messages. You know, we're the whatever family and we don't, you know, we're strong. Or, you know, there's many messages you receive as a child about the value of what your feelings are, okay?
Big boys don't cry.
Yeah.
There's even a song like this.
Yeah, right. So that's people, you know, that goes deep into your psyche when you're a boy, you know? And then as an adult, and also like even for women, right? We can't be strong, you know, women can't be strong. You have to be weak and passive and don't say anything. That's also a message you get about not, I mean, it's okay as a woman to show anger, you know, but we get a message that it's not. So there's many messages you get as a child that go in as samskaras and that make up your personality and how you relate to your feelings. So then what happens as an adult, these are adult kind of barriers to empathy. So then now as an adult, because of you have these samskaras where you didn't get attuned to and you didn't learn about the value of your feelings, so then now you have a fear of feeling your feelings. I deal with that on a daily basis when I see my clients. There's a lot of fear around actually feeling and expressing feelings, you know? So that's a barrier to empathy. If you can't feel your own feelings, how are you going to feel somebody else's, you know? Also a fear of getting stuck like in somebody else's feelings. I don't know if you've ever, like maybe there's somebody you know who's really emotional and you like don't want to go around them or you don't want to say, how are you? Because they'll just be like, let me tell you. And you're like, no, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say, you know. So you kind of have a fear of other people's feelings and getting stuck, you know, in those, right? Other barriers to empathy are maybe your own anger, like the example I gave. You could be a really compassionate person, compassionate empathy, but you get angry and forget that. You're going to figure out how to cream them, how to mastermind them, you know, or hatred or jealousy, all along those same lines. You can't be empathetic if you're hating somebody, or if the jealousy is activated. You can't be empathetic. So these are 5 ways to improve upon our empathy. One of them is put aside your viewpoint just for the time that you're going to try to be empathetic to them. You know, you can say, okay, just for this time we're going to meet, or this exercise I'm going to do myself, I'm going to try to forget my story about what happened and why. You know, if you're having a disagreement, and I'm going to try to come just completely with an open mind to them and completely hear them, you know, just tune into what their side of the story was. And that is extremely hard to do, but that's one way that you can improve upon your empathy. Another one is you can use your imagination. So just say the person is telling their side of the story. Instead of in your head thinking, oh, they're wrong, that's not right, that's not how it happened, that's a lie. Instead of doing that, you can try to imagine what they were going through, you know? You can try to ask questions to even hear more of their story. What was that like for you? That must have been so hard because, or whatever, you know, trying to imagine their story and make it even bigger instead of thinking of your points to fight back, you know? The third one is listen intently. That's very hard to do, especially when you're in a disagreement with somebody because you want to be saying all the reasons why they're wrong, you know? So it's very hard to just put that on the side and just listen. And one idea is like pause your voice, your internal dialogue, you know, and turn up theirs. Turn up their voice, you know. It's a very powerful experience if you have that experience with someone doing that for you. It feels so nice. So I have an idea that I call catching their feelings, you know, like you try to catch their feelings and put yours down and try to catch one of theirs. You know, you're trying to attune. You're like, oh, I got one, you know. And then be curious about the feeling. Just say, you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that. I think, were you feeling depressed? And they're like, yeah, I've actually been depressed for a while. And it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that. So you did that because you weren't feeling up to it, not because you were lazy, you know, the other example I gave. You weren't feeling up to it because you're feeling bad, and you've been trying to hide that depression. I didn't realize that. You know, tell me more. Tell me more is a really nice phrase to use when you're trying to be empathetic and learn more about the person's feelings. Tell me more. Tell me more. And the last one is hard too. Try not to fix it. Don't you hate it when you're like saying your problem and then the person just tells you the answer? My mom is like so notorious for that. I'm like, Mom, I'm just telling you the story. You know, don't tell me the answer. I'm on the third sentence. I have a story. I enjoy telling you the story, you know. And she'll tell me, no, you should have just, and I'm like, no, shh. And then so she's sitting there like sitting on her hands, bouncing around, listening to the story. She can't stand it. She always wants to fix it, you know. So you know how it feels when someone is telling a story that maybe you think is boring or you don't want to hear or you don't have time for. That's also hard, you know, on her side. Anyway, you can practice active listening by not proposing solutions, even if you have one. Even if, like for me, I'm a therapist, you know, and I hear people's problems all day long, not only my clients. Anybody who I see will say whatever they say, and I'm not giving psychological advice all day long. Even to my clients, oftentimes I don't give it. They don't want to hear it. What do they want? They want to be heard. And once they're heard, sometimes the whole hour goes by. And then they go, wow, an hour went by and you didn't say anything, you know? And then they'll say, I feel better, but I didn't say anything. I just listened, and I'm like, oh, that sounds so hard, or oh, I'm so sorry, you know. So there's such a power in just hearing, just listening, you know. Okay, so you guys ready for our empathy guessing game? Okay, so the game is that I'm going to show you 10 different pictures, and they're just of the eyes, okay? Different people's eyes making different expressions, only the eyes, okay? And for each set of eyes, you choose and circle the word. You don't have to circle it, but you choose the word that matches what you think the eyes are expressing. So if you have a pen and paper, it's going to be A, B, C, or D, or you can write down the word, okay? And also these are all on the slides, so if I'm going too fast or you can't catch it, don't worry. You can do it yourself later. You can do it another time later also, okay? So, and the answers are also all here, so you don't have to don't stress about catching anything. You can do it on your own after. Okay? If you think that more than one word applies to those person's eyes, just pick the one. You just got to pick one. Whatever one you can pick that you think is most suitable, and I would say don't overthink it. Just gut reaction. We're doing it all day long to each other's eyes, right? You can tell, oh, she's sad, oh, he's happy, he's excited, he's scared. So just do your gut reaction. But make sure you read all 4 words, because sometimes you'll do the gut reaction and you've only read 2, and another one's a better match, okay? So try to do it as quickly as you can. It's not going to be timed. And then after, we're going to discuss it. Okay? First one. How is this person thinking or feeling? Jealous, panicked, arrogant, or hateful? I didn't put A, B, C, D. Sorry. I thought I did. So just pick one of those. Jealous, panicked, arrogant, or hateful? Make a note of it, and I'm going to go through 9 more, and then we're going to discuss the answers. Okay? Ready? Second set of eyes. It's the same question every time. How is this person thinking or feeling? Playful, comforted, irritated, or bored? How is this person feeling? Playful, comforted, irritated, or bored? Okay? Okay, I'm going to number 3. Ready? How's this person feeling or thinking? Is this person terrified? Is he upset? Arrogant? Or annoyed? What do you think? Terrified? Is that a look of terror? Is that a look of being upset? Is that a look of someone who's very proud, arrogant, or annoyed? What do you guys think? Okay, you got your answers? Does anybody need another few seconds? Are you guys good? I can tell a lot of you are like still looking at him. You're good? Good, move. 4. How's this person thinking or feeling? Joking? Is she in a joking mood? Is she feeling like flustered? Is she feeling desirous? Or is she feeling convinced about something? Flustered is kind of like out of sorts. Agitated or like disorganized, like flustered. Joking, flustered, desirous, convinced. Ready to move? Got it? Number 5. How's this person thinking or feeling? Joking? Insisting? Like, my way or the highway? I insist. It's my way. Or amused? Or relaxed? Joking? Insisting? Amused? Or relaxed? Okay, 6. Irritated, sarcastic, worried, friendly. It's tricky sometimes to get it just from this, right?
Yeah.
It's tricky. Irritated, sarcastic, worried, or friendly. Okay. Number 7. Is this woman feeling aghast? Is she fantasizing about something? Is she feeling impatient? Or is she feeling alarmed? Like
What does aghast?
shocked, surprised, like, oh.
Aghast is like shock.
Yeah.
Shock? It's stronger than alarm?
Aghast. I should have brought a definition. Yeah, I should have defined aghast. I don't have it. Maybe Kanta, can you get it? I think Kanta's going to look it up.
I'm ready.
Okay, aghast. I don't know how to define what that is.
Aghast means filled with horror or shock.
Okay, filled with, thank you, Vilas. Filled with horror or shock, aghast. So alarmed is more, I think, like shocked, and I think aghast is even worse.
Alarm has a sense of urgency about it.
Yeah.
Aghast is just like shock.
Okay.
It's like I have to do something.
Okay. Okay. So alarm. So Gaura Jivan is saying alarmed is you have to do something about it, right? And aghast is that you're just shocked, but you don't have to do something immediately.
Maybe you can't.
Okay. I'm moving to 8. How is this person thinking or feeling? Apologetic, friendly, uneasy, or dispirited? And this one I looked up. It's like disheartened. You feel disheartened about something. Apologetic, friendly, uneasy, or dispirited? It's difficult. Okay. Yeah, just the eyes. Okay.
What is
No.
it? Inspired there?
Disheartened. Disheartened.
Spirited.
Okay. Number 9. How is this person thinking or feeling? Despondent, which means like discouraged. Relieved. Shy. Or excited. Means discouraged. Discouraged. Relieved. Shy. Or excited. It'd be a hard job to analyze people's eyes, wouldn't it? Analyze their minds by looking at their eyes. That'd be a hard job. Okay. So last but not least, how is this person thinking or feeling? Annoyed? Hostile? Horrified? Or preoccupied? Okay. Everybody got your guesses in? Best guesses? Okay. So let's review. So I have the answers for each one. We'll go one by one, and then...
Can you show the full face?
I don't have the full face. Okay. This person was feeling panicked. Panicked. What do you guys think? Did you guys get that one?
Yeah.
What made you think? Fear. What did you see in his eyes that made you think panicked? Huh?
Like with the extra white.
Extra white, so the eyes are dilated, right? There's big, extra white. He looks, right, panicked about something, right? Did anybody notice something else about his eyes that made you feel that he's panicked besides what we said?
There's a car coming at him. There's 2 car lights coming at him.
You can see it. Yeah. You can see it.
Wow, you're very good.
Yeah, very observant, Dauchi. Very observant. Anything else you want to share about panic? Yes, Vilas.
What I found strange is that one eye is more open than the other. So I'm wondering if there's something, I don't know, maybe he has some spasm or something is kind of clogged.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. It looks like he's old maybe, and the skin is hanging down on one, you know? I don't know if he can open it all the way. It looks loose there. Or maybe he has some other medical problem. Yeah. Yes, Kamala.
It looks like that he's going back.
Yeah.
So some kind of...
Yeah.
He's not straight, but he's more behind.
Yeah.
He's behind.
Yeah.
He's a little bit back. More back.
Very good. A lot of observations just from seeing the eyes, you know? We didn't see his face at all. We didn't see his bodily movements, and just the eyes. Look at how much you guys picked up on. Very good. Did anybody think it was something besides panicked? Like hateful or jealous or arrogant? Did you?
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking it was arrogant.
Arrogant. Okay, so what did you see that made you think it's arrogant?
Because the expression of one eyebrow go up and
Yeah.
the other down, like this expression.
Like this.
Expression,
I can't do it, but like I'm so cool. What's wrong with you people? Okay.
It was feeling like someone is doing a question and he is just very arrogant. Like,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Somebody wrote something in the chat. Somebody wanted to write their answer there? Small pupils. Ananga Manjari said small pupils. So that made him look panicked, right? When you're scared or panicked, your pupils get small. That's a good observation. That's very subtle observation, right? Noticing that the pupils they're not big and dilated, they're small, right? So he's scared or panicked. Good. Yes, Rati.
His direct vision strikes me, but he's looking straight ahead like that and off to the side.
Yes.
That he's looking at something that's also
Oh, very good. Maybe it's a bear or something, and it's like, oh God, you know, he's not like looking casually. He's looking straight at something, so it must be right in front of him. That's a very good observation. Excellent. Good job, you guys. Anyone else before we go to the next one? Okay, let's see this one. How's this person thinking? Playful. What do you guys think? Was he playful?
Yeah.
Could you tell by his eyes? Yeah. What made him look playful to you specifically about those eyes? Who said that? Okay, Gorjivan is saying the twinkle. He had a twinkle in his eyes. Yeah? What else?
Yeah, kind of joyful.
Joyful. What makes him look joyful specifically? What did you guys... Huh? The light. Okay. Susan, Sophie, what did you want to share?
I think he's laughing and smiling, big smiling, and you can see it in the eyes.
Yeah, it looks like he's laughing, doesn't it, by his eyes? Yeah, that's good, Susan, Sophie.
Yeah, because when you smile, you can see the cheek lift, right?
Yeah. Yeah, looks like his cheeks are going up. And Sarada said, I can imagine a smirk or a smile. Yeah, looks like that, doesn't it? Very good. Did anybody think it was something else? Oh, someone else, I'm sorry, I can't see. Prajaka? Or sorry.
Good eye contact.
Good eye contact. Okay. And so he's trying to connect with somebody, right? He has to look at them to want to play. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, great.
Yes.
Very good. Good job. Anything else? Did anybody think that he looked comforted, irritated, bored? Yes, Peter.
I actually think it's a woman.
You think it's a woman? Okay. So whether it's a man or woman, that's not the issue. We're trying to get the feelings. Man or woman can both feel playful. You wanted to say something? No? Okay. So nobody got anything other than playful. Every single person got playful.
I got comforted.
You got comforted? Yeah. Okay, let's give him the mic for a minute to share.
Yeah, comforted also can be an option. I was like, is it playful or is it, because when you comforted, you can also get this expression, it's like
yeah.
you're feeling good. Like,
okay. So because he's feeling comforted, then he's looking playful? Or are you just saying, you just thought just comforted?
Yeah, it was hard, but you mentioned a detail, like when you're smiling and you're like, your cheeks are lifted a little, so you can like, yes.
Good.
Probably.
Very good. Okay. So most people said playful, but maybe comforted could also be related, right? Sometimes when people are comforted, they have their
expression.
Yeah. Okay. How about this one? Terrified, upset, arrogant, or annoyed? Upset? You guys all got upset?
But I thought also it could be annoyed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Upset or annoyed, and annoyed. First upset. First upset. So the instructions are this: just pick one. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Upset. You got annoyed. Dowd, you got annoyed. Vilas got annoyed. So what about those eyes make it look annoyed? Huh?
That's what I do when I get annoyed.
You look like that?
His eyebrows are all...
Yeah, annoyed. So nobody thought he was terrified or arrogant?
I thought he was arrogant.
You thought he was arrogant? Who said that? You thought he was arrogant? Okay, you want to say on the mic why?
He just looks like, his eyes, he looks like confident and cocky. Was it upset? I don't think he looks upset.
No. Okay, so you think he looks kind of like very confident, very cocky, kind of a know-it-all type. Yeah.
Mm.
I can see that actually.
Yeah.
I can see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Jaya sees it too in Kanta? Yeah, it's not, he may be an upset, arrogant guy. You know? Thank you for sharing that. Okay, I think we better wrap up because Babaji's going to come. Thank you guys, great job today. And Haribo.
One more.
I got to have empathy for Babaji. We'll keep going next week. We'll do the remaining 7 next week, okay? Thank you guys.